What's going on, everyone? So we had a crazy article here today. I've looked at this in multiple angles, and I'm like, how do we want to do this? Because we've talked about this before. But here's my thing with this type of stuff. I get Pete Hines. I always liked Pete Hines. He was a cool guy, amazing person. And the world that he pushed and built, and the Bethesda push, yeah, it's not there anymore like that. Totally different reality. And the way that he's going to look at things is like I said, you know how Baldur's Gate was looking at things? So when they make games, they sold 20, 30, 40 million, right? In his mind, that's the world. You know what I mean? That's what we're building. And, it's kind of like Bethesda started off like a small company. And they treated each other a certain way. Hines does not agree with any layoffs. None of that. That's not the way his philosophy works. But, those guys accepted Microsoft's deal. So let's be a little bit truthful here, but then we're not going to bash Game Pass because for the first time ever, more than ever in the industry, though I've said what I said about it, I'm still going to say that the benefits that gamers get is the most important. These guys are millionaires. They're riding off into the sunset. They're going to go on the other side pretty fine. They did their job on Earth, you know what I mean? And they have no worries. They don't have to worry about gas prices, food, any of that. You know what I mean? None of that stuff's going to happen. Whereas most people, like in the Xbox community or people in general today, are spending less money. Definitely, when you think about how ridiculous the prices are all around the world to survive and just to try to get to where you can pay your internet and get online, you're like, damn, this is all I have left. Like speaking from the common denominator, Game Pass is pretty nice with that. So that it's never going to be ignored. I think that's the most important thing right now over even people complaining about what it's hurting. Well, that's Microsoft's fault then. They need to manage that shit. But for the consumer on the end, they're getting the benefit. So this is where I can't shoot it down because then I think I'll be doing that to people who could barely probably afford anything at the moment. And I think I should always value that over what somebody like him says, which I understand what he's saying and I agree with him on a lot of things. We've talked about this before with that type of stuff. Like there's certain things you can't just put on that model because it's too big, you know what I mean? And from Pete Hines' point of view, the games he pushed, think about how big those Skyrim games are, you know what I mean? So that makes sense why he thinks that. That's why I said, don't take this negative. These are guys that are, remember when they were playing this game, it was that game, you know what I mean? Same thing with here he comes, Shawn Layden. Oh my God, bro, 268 like that's crazy. Hunter comes down, putting a nail in the coffin, nailed it. You know, Hunter likes PlayStation. Astrobot comes on here saying Xbox has the best, better EX employees. That's funny. Does PlayStation Plus not exist, or is PlayStation Plus not an issue because it's the worst service? Clue posted something by Alex. It's probably something about Game Pass.
The problem isn't Game Pass. The problem is your game probably sucks.
If that's the case, devs are free to opt out. Well, that's the thing. It takes two to tango. And Layden is gonna, like I said, he went against Microsoft. They were, oh no day one service. We're selling our games. I'm gonna beat Microsoft. I'm gonna beat Xbox that way. He still has that same, like you can feel it, right? That same like look, intensity, like Shawn. I know, like he's just looking at Microsoft that way. Just with his hands right there, and he's gonna say what he's gonna say, like if he's going right at them. He's still there. Yeah, that stuff's funny. To me, it just cracks me up, guys. Like I said, you can turn this to a comedy. It's funny. But I said what I said. So now let's go over to the important part. I skipped past a lot of stuff because there's so much. This is a long ass one. But I want to get to the beefy stuff for you guys so we can get this out of the way. And yeah, let's get to the highlights. So zoom in for you guys on mobile. That's part of the reason Tango Gameworks. Let's start off with Hi-Fi Rush. This is where Pete is saying this. That's part of the reason Tango Gameworks Hi-Fi Rush was announced and launched on the same day. Bethesda didn't want to waste its energy explaining why the survival horror game studio was making a rhythm action game. Here's the game. Play it and judge it for yourself. If we believe what Xbox says, keyword right here, it was another success. Remember, they said it was fine. Phil said it was fine. They reached 3 million players, no problem. But what does success even mean in the age of subscriptions? This is where things start. They did say that. That's on Microsoft. We know that. Like I said, we've been past this, but we're trying to understand why he's saying this. But what does this success even mean in the age of subscriptions, he asked. After all, 3 million players is totally different metrics to 3 million sales. Yeah, not even close to being the same. A year after that success, Microsoft closed the studio down. Fortunately, Tango was later revived by Krafton alongside Dishonored developer Arcane Austin, which also had an Xbox Game Pass launch with this vampire co-op shooter, Redfall. So this is what Pete Hines is seeing. Just on that first paragraph, he sees all this. To him, that's probably not the Bethesda that he wants. I'm not working in any of these companies anymore. Respect. And so I don't assume that everything I knew while I was in this industry still holds true today. Definitely a lot has changed, Pete, 100%. Hines says. At the same time, let's see what says that. I'm involved enough to know what I saw, what I consider to be some sort of short-sighted decision making several years ago. He said several years ago. And it seems to be bearing out the way I said. Subscriptions, he's talking about Game Pass, let's go ahead and say it, Pete, have become the new four-letter word, right? You can't buy a product anymore. When you talk about a subscription that relies on content, if you don't figure out how to balance the needs of the service and the people running the service with the people who are providing the content. So we got us, them, and the content creator or the developer, without which your subscription is worth jack shit. Oof, man, he's throwing heavy shots there. I think that's I think when you say that jack shit, that's a statement of like, you know, like he kind of wanted to like go off, like this is not what I want and I'm not here anymore because of that. Then you have a real problem. So jack shit, oh yeah, that's a statement. He's making a statement here. That's funny. You need to properly acknowledge, compensate, and recognize what it takes to create that content and not just make a game, but make a product. So he's saying product here again. That tension is hurting a lot of people, including the content creators themselves, because they're fitting into an ecosystem that is not properly valuing and rewarding what they're making. He's saying that he likes Bethesda when they were able to be valued and rewarded worldwide on PC, PlayStation, and all those things day one, and the way that they were running the company, it worked for them. The way that Microsoft is going, people are not going to get valued and rewarded like they should on Game Pass. This is what Pete Hines is saying. Not what I'm saying, not what anyone's saying. We see this right here. And he believes that there's a lot of tension being built up and people are being hurt a lot. And there's going to be layoffs and it's just not going well internally inside. That's what he's trying to say to us. Guys, this is what he's saying. Interesting. Like I said, we've been over this before. I've covered Game Pass for you guys, but we're just reading what he's saying. Okay, let's keep going. If music is anything to go by, it's a tension that'll change games themselves. 2, giving enough time. Shorter songs with immediate hooks are incentivized, and because they play better with the algorithm that serves new listeners music on Spotify, so kind of like TikTok and all that. So musicians are doing the artistic equivalent of SEO to try to get their music to a wider audience. I could be saying it's there, but they're not making any money. As our attention span saps thanks to sackable media and TikTok reels, there's a real chance game developers will have to compete for a limited attention span. Well, it's all about time now. It's always been that. When Nintendo's doing smart, I talked about this guys a long time ago. They made sure that when you're in their world, you don't need a TV only. You can just keep going and they still got your attention. Now they got the market in front of you, on the go still in front of you like that. Smart, man. And shrinking wallets in a similar way, bending the art to just get noticed in an industry bursting with options. Yeah, so much now it's hard. Everyone's been conditioned. The attention economy is the worst it's ever been. Yeah, the kids are scrolling vertical videos. They want live events and crossovers, and they think every game should be a forever game, like Fortnite, yeah. Updated until the developers turn it into a Fallout skeleton like a factory. Look, I'm gonna tell you right now, there's some things Pete Hines is saying, we're not even talking about Microsoft, we're just talking about in general across the industry. 100% correct. They turn you to this factory. Just keep making the same game over and over again. You have no creative freedom, and they're enforcing it. And it just makes you feel soulless and just empty, and just, yeah, like you're just some factory guy making these products over and over again, like a slave. So yeah, that there's developers that do not want to be pushed to do the same thing over and over again. I can understand that, but this has something to do with Microsoft. This is in general talking about what he's saying when it comes to the attention economy and all that. Yeah, man, because they got their brain wired for these shorts all the time and take the scroll. They don't have much attention. They move across all these games. They don't finish anything. Nobody wants to do the same thing over and over again. Of course not. Creative freedom is very important. You're not going to go in a room where an artist is painting something, right? And you're walking around, those guys are in school, the authorities, principals walking around, making sure you don't cheat on the test, just keeps on walking around looking down at you like that. It's like, why does an artist and a painter need that? Get the fuck out the room. When he's done, let him finish. Not, oh, 78%, snatch it off the thing, just put it on the market. Yeah, that's those assholes. You know what I mean? I could understand that because it's the worst thing for an artist, man. That's terrible. Like, let him finish his work. But they don't. They get what they want. They extract it, exploit them, and then if they don't like it, they just throw them off after that. And it's like, yeah, see, that's upside down and backwards, man. So nobody likes the forced march of serializing something. Like I said, forced factory over and over. Yeah, it sucks. It's not even an artist at that point, you're a slave. But Bethesda didn't just only do Elder Scrolls, right? For a while, that's all we owned. We decided to go after Fallout because Todd Howard said we need to stretch our legs creatively and go in different directions. Yeah, and look at the results. And it'll make our Elder Scrolls games better. In early 2000s, there was a pressure for Bethesda game studios to keep making Elder Scrolls games, but Hines, Howard, and everyone else at the studio pushed to let them flex their creative muscles. With every Elder Scrolls, they threw everything out and started from almost nothing, reworking every facet of the game to deliver a new experience. Without dipping their toes into the genres and experiences, the series everyone cared about the most wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't have stagnated like Call of Duty. It would have. Yeah, it would have. Yeah, no. But see, what is Call of Duty? Nobody wants to do the same thing over and over again. Nobody likes the forced march of serializing something. Nobody wants to be a factory. You see? So I can understand that in general. And that was happening before Microsoft was even around with Kotick running. That's why I said this is not even Microsoft at this point. But it's just I'm talking about the industry changing in general. Because we covered the Gamepass stuff. So we're just seeing why he feels that way. It was important for the developers, too, who wanted to work on more than one project for the rest of their lives and could potentially jump to another studio if left creatively unsatisfied. Understand that? Even if you're a suit who only cares about money, nice. Why throw away all the skills and expertise you've neutered over the years? I like that Pete Hines is being real with us. I don't think he's not even trying to beat down Game Pass. He's just being genuine. There's a difference between that. You can tell when somebody's trying to beat down something and when somebody's being professional, still being respectful. Allowing the people who make the art to own their craft and experiment is an investment in the future and the only guaranteed way to make better games. It's like I was saying, you have to allow the artist to naturally just whatever, you know what I mean? Not forced narratives, none of that stuff, because if it comes out like that naturally, it's going to be fine. It's already naturally part of creation. Just let it happen. Don't force it. It's like somebody trying to play a solo or to write a poetry. Dude, you can't force me to, you know, it's not a force, it's a flow. You could be blocking my flow and the product's not going to be good. Because anybody that's an artist knows about flowing, being in tune, you know what I mean? Just in tune, like even the rhythm of playing, you're in a rhythm, you know what I mean? You're not being forced, you're being left alone. So you can tell these people are mechanical because they keep on trying to force things that shouldn't be forced. You're drowning the artist. Back off. Yeah, I know, because I'm very artistic. The people making the games are people, Hines says. Yes, they are employees, but if you don't see them as people, as people first, employees second, hey man, look, I like what he's saying, then I don't think you're going to understand how they're motivated. Very true, because they're just coming in to do this, and then you're not understanding how they could be used for the best artists possible by allowing them the creative freedom that they need and support from a distance. It's very true. If you don't understand that, then yeah, that makes sense. Then I don't think you're going to understand how they're motivated. You're talking about highly creative artists, programmers, and designers, and they don't want to be hemmed into this tiny little box painting the same picture again and again. Hey, you know what, Pete Hines? I agree with you on that. You know, yeah, 100%, man. Hey, he's telling it how it is. But outside of that, just getting back to what he was saying about this, that's what he probably means. And like I said, if you want that kind of thing, then yeah, Game Pass and Microsoft are not for you then. But would I want that to go away and us lose our benefits? Absolutely not. The players are still getting the benefits that they deserve, even if the corporations are suffering because of that. Man, you know how much we've suffered from corporations? So to me, I don't really care. And I don't feel sorry for a corporation. Definitely Microsoft, you know what I mean? And I'm going to take that benefit. And at the end of the day, Game Pass is, you know, it's better than ever for the consumer as far as like us getting our benefits. So let me know what you guys think about this. Now we get an idea about how he feels, why he thinks that way, right? And then Shawn Layden just being Shawn Layden, right? Which I kind of think is funny. And I know there's going to be a lot of people reacting to this. So I thought I should get started and get this going in the morning. So what an interesting article here by the man Hines himself. So yeah, you know what I told you guys too about Game Pass too. It can help any developers if they had no money. They can give them a check, expand their game out. They can have an expansive community, and then branch out and get themselves elsewhere. So there's moments where it can help, and there's moments, of course, where there can be issues. We've talked about this before. It's a double-edged sword, but it's always a positive boon for the consumer because they get the biggest benefit, which should be happening today. You know what I mean? More than ever. Definitely when all of these fucking corporations are making record profits, right? So when we hear things about, tension, hurting people, content, including content creators, fitting things into an ecosystem and not properly valuing and rewarding, that sounds like a company problem, not a problem that we have. They need to get their shit together. Same thing with budgets, right? Dude, you guys need to fix that. That is not a us problem, that's a you problem. But they want to make you suffer for problems that they have. And that's pretty much it. So we got this covered. Pony, sit down. Let me know what you guys think. All right, y'all. Peace out. Have a great day. Later.